A deadly virus has broken out, turning the infected into savage, bloodthirsty zombies. City after city has collapsed, and the world has plunged into chaos. Among the survivors is Francis, his wife Iris, and their 2 sons, driving a blood-smeared van toward the countryside. Their destination is Francis's father's farm, a secluded refuge far from the crumbling city. When they arrive, Francis tells his family to wait in the car while he checks inside. As he cautiously enters, the foul smell of decay greets him. He finds his father's corpse lying in bed, a gun in one hand and bite marks on his arm, clear signs that he had been infected and had taken his own life before fully turning. He picks up the gun, and as he prepares to leave, he hears a familiar voice. It's his mother's, but she's no longer human. Before he can react, her half-rotted body collapses, and without warning, she lunges at Francis. After confirming that the water source is safe, Francis decides that the family will stay on the farm. Iris, however, is hesitant and wants them to keep moving north toward a rumored survivor camp. But Francis is firm and believes staying put is the best option. Later, Francis and his eldest son, Joshua, head to the storage shed to search for supplies. They're pleasantly surprised to find a hen and some eggs, but they're locked in a cage. As they look for the key, Joshua is horrified to find a man's body hanging from the ceiling. The key is attached to the man's belt, and Francis instructs Joshua to retrieve it. As soon as he does, the body suddenly falls, but luckily, the man is not a zombie. That evening, the family shares a rare moment of comfort over dinner, but tensions remain as Joshua sides with his mother, expressing a desire to continue north. Francis, however, firmly refuses and shuts down the idea completely. That night, Francis wakes up with a nightmare. Memories resurface of a traumatic childhood. His father used to lock him in the basement as punishment, and the fear still lingers deep within him. The next day, Iris finally convinces Francis to resume their journey. They set off toward the north once more, but the road is surprisingly quiet with no sign of zombies. However, when they reach a large bridge, they find it completely blocked. Francis sees this as a warning, a possible trap, but Iris refuses to give up. She gets out of the car and begins cutting through the barbed wires. The clanging metal echoes into the silence, and the noise attracts a nearby zombie. Francis rushes to protect her and shoots the zombie in the head, but the gunshot echoes through the air and attacks another zombie. Joshua honks the car horn in panic to alert them, but the sound attracts more zombies, and the kids are trapped as more zombies surround them. Francis draws their attention by killing one and leads the horde away, giving Iris just enough time to get the kids and run. Francis runs in the opposite direction, buying Iris time, but his ammo runs out. Just then, he spots a dead soldier and grabs a grenade from his body. The car, now seemingly too damaged to start, is abandoned, but in truth, the car was never broken. Francis deliberately lied. He didn't want to continue north, and this was his way of ensuring they stayed at the farm. Days pass. Francis repairs the generator in the basement, restoring power to the house. Slowly, the family begins to adjust to life there, and Iris's desire to leave starts to fade. Francis believes they finally found peace, until tragedy strikes again. One morning, at the chicken coop, he finds a wild dog has broken in. The dog has killed the hen and bites Francis's hand before running off. As Iris tends to his wound, their youngest son hears a broadcast on the radio, a message confirming the existence of a survivor camp. This reignites Iris's determination to leave, but Francis refuses and angrily tells her he'd rather be bitten by a dog than take his chances at some camp where they might be devoured by zombies. The next morning, Francis takes Joshua to a nearby field to teach him how to shoot, but Joshua is hesitant and afraid. Francis pressures him until Joshua finally fires and hits some bottles in the distance. The noise draws a group of zombies, and the family runs back toward the farmhouse. Francis quickly barricades the door as the moaning grows louder outside. The zombies begin to pile up, pounding on the house. Just as the door is about to give away, a car horn blares from a distance, and the zombies shift their attention and chase after the new sound. The next morning, Francis cautiously steps outside and follows tracks to the riverbank. There, he finds the driver of the car. It's his brother, Diego. They talk, and Francis learns that Diego lost both his wife and child to the infection. He had returned to the family farm, unaware that Francis was there too, and his arrival had saved their lives. But instead of thanking him, Francis pulls a gun. It appears that years ago, Diego had an affair with Iris. Even now, in the midst of the apocalypse, Francis cannot forgive the betrayal, and the humiliation still burns. Seeing the resentment in his brother's eyes, Diego doesn't argue. He confirms that the survivor camp is real, shows Francis the route on a map, then silently drives away. When Francis returns home, he lies to Iris and tells her Diego is dead. Iris doesn't say a word and simply turns away. Francis then seals every window in the house, believing it would protect his family from the dangers outside. Until one day, his younger son went down to the basement and noticed a zombie standing silently near the ventilation window. Iris, hearing her son's cries, rushed to him and held him tight as they stared in horror at the creature. Unbeknownst to her, Francis was nearby, quietly watching them from the shadows, almost as if he had been expecting this. The next day, just as if it had been part of a plan, Francis tracks down that same zombie, kills it, and returns home carrying its severed head. His intention was cruel but calculated. He wanted to terrify Iris, to convince her that leaving the farmhouse was far too dangerous. Later that evening, after finishing his shower, Francis was met with a cold stare from Joshua. The boy had discovered the hidden map leading to the northern survivor camp. During dinner, Iris confronts Francis. Feeling betrayed, she lashed out and declared she was leaving that night, with or without him. Francis remained disturbingly calm. Without a word, he pulled out the map and lit it on fire right in front of her. He wasn't going to let her go, not with the children. Their confrontation was interrupted by an unexpected knock at the door. Francis hesitated to answer it, but Iris stepped up and opened it herself. Outside, there was a man in a military uniform. He explained that he was part of a northern survivor group. While on a supply mission, he and his team had encountered a massive zombie horde. They were only alive because a mysterious stranger had drawn the zombies away. Following that stranger's directions, the man made it to the farm, though his savior had not been so lucky. Iris immediately realized the man he spoke of was Diego. She ignored Francis's protests and invited the soldier into the house. That night, Joshua quietly came to his mother and asked her permission to leave. He no longer trusted his father and believed things were only getting worse. Though hesitant and scared, Iris agreed to help him go. By the next morning, Francis discovered Joshua was gone. In his twisted mind, he blamed the soldier. If the man hadn't revealed the camp's location, none of this would have happened. Consumed by paranoia and anger, Francis grabbed a hammer and... When Iris next opened her eyes, she found herself locked in the basement with her younger son. The door creaked open and Francis appeared, wearing the dead soldier's uniform. In his hands was a plate of freshly cooked meat. A wave of dread washed over Iris. They hadn't eaten meat since the outbreak. Where did it come from? When she and her son refused to eat, Francis threw the plate to the ground and stormed out. Later that night, screams tore through the silence, waking Francis in a panic. He rushed to the basement and found his younger son curled up in agony. Seizing the moment, Iris escaped with her son. But as she opened the front door to flee, she was met with a zombie standing outside. It was Diego. They turned and ran, but he was faster and stronger. Iris was caught by the leg and dragged down. Her son managed to distract the zombie for a brief moment, but he was quickly overpowered. Hearing the commotion, Francis summoned every ounce of strength and finally broke through the basement door. He fought off the zombie with everything he had and managed to kill it, but the damage was done as the younger son was bitten. Without hesitation, Iris severed her son's arm at the bite, hoping to stop the infection from spreading. Knowing the boy would need a blood transfusion, Francis snapped out of his madness. He rushed to the bridge, intending to take the van and drive to a hospital. But there, he ran into Joshua. Seeing his father covered in blood, Joshua assumed he had turned. Without waiting for an explanation, he raised his weapon and fired. But as he approached the fallen body, he realized the terrible mistake. Francis used his final breath to tell his son to go back to save his mother and brother.